Good morning, y'all. I am Audrey Gale Hall, your membership coordinator here at Emerson UU Church of Houston, Texas. So here is your semi-weekly reminder that if you're looking for Emerson Church of Pittsburgh or Raleigh or Portland, you're in the wrong place. Our beloved community of faith, reason, and affection welcomes all to grow in mind, body, and spirit as together we build a better world. If you're joining us for the first time this morning or back from a stretch away, we welcome you especially. And we invite you to fill out our visitor card. Even if you're not a visitor, you've totally been here before, just fill it out. It's the little yellow card out in the gathering place that I will read and get back to you on. We would love to connect. Again, welcome to all. Thank you, Nancy. Y'all, Nancy's showing you here down on the right side what it looks like. We're a church in many places. Some of us are here in the pews and others are joining on YouTube from home or wherever else we might be. And our world is a different one than it was in 2020, so our worship service has changed accordingly. We're giving people choices in the pews as to the distance they want to have between families and whether or not they want to continue masking. We've put a few offering baskets at the front and back of the sanctuary on your left, your right, and in the very center in the back. So people can drop off their offerings there during the service instead of passing the plates. And for those of us in the sanctuary this morning, I want us to take one breath and visualize those who are not here today or not here in this place, but are still joining us across space and time. And those of y'all who are at home know that we're holding you in our hearts. And if you're here in person, please do silence your cell phones before we get started. Take the switch, push it back. Unless you want to be live tweeting, just consider how much time you want to be giving to that device in your pocket. Following the worship service, folks in the pews may head out to the courtyard and playground to chat, and we'll also have social time on Zoom, hosted by board trustee Marilyn Rambo. Thank you, Marilyn. That's a chance for y'all to gather in smaller groups to discuss the service and what's going on in your lives. And those of us here in person may or may not be grabbing lunch. And now for our prelude.
Good morning. I am the Reverend Michelle LaGrave, the interim minister of this congregation, and I am delighted you are here with us, whether today, right now, this morning, or later on online. The theme of this service for this morning is For Our Future. and it is the official kickoff of the annual Stewardship campaign, which is how we as a church with congregational polity fund everything we do for the coming year. No magic money coming from anywhere else. It's all us coming together and pooling our resources so we can do what we love to do in this beloved community of faith. So I would like to begin by thanking the awesome stewardship team. If any of you are here in person with us this morning and would like to either stand up or wave your hands or whatever, we would love to know who you are and give you a great big round of applause. Thank you for all of your hard work. Whoever you are, wherever you come from, wherever you find yourself on your life's journey, whichever your pronouns, whether you've walked in or rolled in or dialed in, whomever you love, you are welcome here. You belong here.
Come, let us enter this space of hope and community. Come, let us enter this space with our sorrows, our joys, our passion and compassion. Come, let us enter this space with the stories of our ancestors, for their strength and wisdom beats in our hearts. Come into this space present to the beloved companions who move beside us. Come into this space mindful that together we are building a future for other generations. Come into this space and let us worship.
For all of you who are longtime members of Emerson, maybe you joined in the 60s, the founding decade. Maybe you've been here for decades yourself. Maybe you have been raised in a Unitarian Universalist church, either this one or somewhere else. Maybe you were a member for a long time somewhere else and then moved here and continued your path on Unitarian Universalism. Whoever you are who consider yourselves to be longtime members, please rise, either in body or spirit, wave your hands, stand up, do whatever it is you would like to do while we begin our chalice lighting, and remain standing while Sigsby and Mary Ann are with us.
Across the generations, we have carried the flame. We fought the injustice, sang the songs, spoke for truth, and built something lasting. We join in the line, and we carry the flame forward.
Please be seated. For all you who are active leaders right now, maybe you're on the board, maybe you're on the transition team, the search committee, maybe you have some other important role in the congregation which brings you here many hours a month. If you are an active leader, please rise either in body or spirit while Michael continues our chalice lighting.
Across the generations, we are tending the flame. Hand in hand together, we share in the work of fighting injustice, singing the songs, speaking the truth, and we are here to build something lasting. We join in the line, and we carry the flame forward.
Please be seated. For all you who consider yourselves a young adult. Now, typically we define this as 35 and younger in Unitarian Universalism, but in this congregation, I'd say if you're younger than me, younger than 50, or you're just very young at heart. Whatever. Please rise with Audrey as she leads us in the next portion of the chalice lighting.
We, across the generations, have been nourished by this flame. We are singing new songs, breaking old barriers, sharing in the work. And as we find our own space in what has been, we are here to make space for the next person as well. We join in the line and we carry the flame forward.
Please be seated. For all you who are a family with young children, people under 18 in your family, please rise either in body or spirit and join as Steve and Atticus continue and finish our chalice lighting.
Across the generations, this flame comes to us. We are here for the songs, for the justice, for the community sharing the work. We are here now to build something new and lasting. We are ready for a new day together. We join in the line and we carry the flame forward.
Our chalice is lit. Let us worship.
Okay, y'all, I was at the church auction last night, and I'm a little tired this morning, so fair warning, I have my notes with me. So, when I found out that this year's stewardship theme is for our future, the first thing that went through my internet mind is, where is my flying car? All those old cartoons and so many stories have promised me that there should be flying cars by now. And I hear the technology is kind of sort of being developed, but it sounds like the airlines are taking it over. And I was promised a flying car. Seriously, though. That's a weird thing about the future. We move toward it, but we can never quite know what it will be. Anyway, let's talk about cars in general. I love my car. Driving, I don't so much love traffic, hence, the flying car might make that easier. But being in my car, thinking, moving through the world, it's a sense of freedom and power, and I especially love road trips. That idea of adventure and connection, and also, the planning. You're probably not surprised to learn that I have a lot of rules for road trips. Like what snacks you pack. You got to use up the stuff in the fridge, but it has to be something you can eat with your hands while driving. And there should be a fruit and a vegetable, but there also should be the stuff that you never let yourself eat, right? You can get the powdered white sugar donuts, even though they're going to get all over you. Yeah. And for it to be a true Texas road trip, take notes. You got to stop at the Whataburger before you leave the state. Yeah. I hear they've put them in other states now. Those don't count. Maybe most importantly for me is the music. Rule number 1 is you have to keep listening to your Houston radio stations until they get staticky. But then it is all about the playlist. Now, when I first started on road trips, it was the zippered case of cassettes of all the mixtapes of all of my friends had made, and even a couple of the really bad ones from like middle school where I had to tape things off the radio, and you hoped they didn't, make an announcement about some contest in the middle of the new song you've been waiting to hear all day. When I started dating the man who would become my husband, one of the first things he bought with his paycheck was the Sony Discman with the cassette that plugged into your cassette player so you could play any of your CDs in the car. And I remember he spent like a couple hours on a Saturday setting up the Velcro on the dashboard so that the CD player would be perfectly level and not skip too much. You know what I'm talking about, those of you who were there. So then, of course, we had to upgrade our music to CDs, and those went in that black double zipper binder. Yeah. The worst thing that could happen is if you had that all set up, and then that binder slipped away, like underneath the seat while you're doing 80 in Oklahoma. I like Green Day an awful lot, Green Day, thank you, but not for 7 hours through Oklahoma and Kansas. Eventually, we upgraded again to thumb drives. This little thumb drive here holds about 40 hours of music. We have it in folders and moods and locales. If you're driving through Georgia, maybe you need some country music you actually like. I seriously have enough 80s music on here to get me all the way to Wisconsin. That's critical because when my children came along, I drove to Wisconsin once or twice a year. Sometimes with my husband or my mom would fly down to make the drive, but sometimes it was just me and the kids. Now, one of our rules that we've always had is whoever is driving chooses the music. But it turns out that 9-month-olds get veto power if they start shrieking angrily at the sound of the Beach Boys. I really do need to check in on them and see if they still hate the Beach Boys that much. This got expanded when I realized just how much Boston and Neil Young my husband is willing to listen to at any given time. The new rule is you can have 2 songs by that group, and then you need to go to something else because I'm done. Okay, we develop practices on where we're going to stop for meals. If you are just starting this sort of culture with your family, I advise it not be the ones that have billboards every 15 minutes. Are we stopping now? Are we stopping now? Are we stopping now? They're going to say that anyway. Don't give them a visual cue for it. We figured out which hotel chains met our balanced needs. I wanted a really comfortable bed. They wanted a pool, those sorts of things. And also, we came up with techniques when we had to. For the detours, the unexpected car troubles, how we could get through these things as a family. My children had their first McDonald's when they were 9 months old, when we had a flat somewhere in Missouri, and the only place that could change a tire was the super Walmart with a McDonald's inside. We learned to take turns driving, and with that, we have to use some judgment as to what we're going to complain about in somebody else's driving. Is it actually a safety or something that just makes us go grr? Harmony is important, it turns out, particularly when we really do want a break from driving, when we want somebody else to just take control for a little while. We can read a book or take a nap or just gaze out at hundreds of miles of this countryside. And before you know it, those toddlers in the back seat have become tweens who can help navigate and will man the pump so you can get a pit stop under 6 minutes. That was a proud day, y'all. And then it's time to teach them to drive. Yeah. Talking about setting aside your power, about deciding what is something that needs constructive feedback and what's just something we're just going to have to keep passing. And that's one thing in a quiet parking lot or the streets near your house. My children's first introduction to the Houston highways was if you're coming from the west side of town and you get on the freeway at Willcrest onto I-10, which some will say is the widest stretch across of interstate in the United States. I still haven't figured out why my husband made that choice, but thankfully I was not in the car that day. But it all came together. They're fairly good drivers. It was one thing on that first road trip to sit beside them and let them drive. It was another when I actually was able to go into the back seat. I snapped some pictures for the Instagram. And before you know it, y'all, I'd actually fallen asleep. Oh. And now, as we move into our next chapter, one son took off in a U-Haul, insisted he could do the trip himself. The other, in the car he inherited from his father, off to another whole state. Road tripping, and they don't even use a thumb drive anymore. They have Spotify playlists that they collaborate on with their friends. As in, hey, I'm moving to Michigan next week. What should I put on my Spotify? And they just all hit click, and they get this offering, not just of interesting tunes, but hopes and good wishes for the journey. And we think about all the adventures to come, with or without that flying car. We do the best to prepare, knowing that we may come along the way. And now one of our RE families, Stephen and Atticus.
Hi, everybody. As with most things regarding our congregation, I approach this from the perspective of a parent of a small child. I've been a member of Emerson since March of 2018. At the time I arrived, Emerson had just gone through 2 years of trauma, Mark's death plus Harvey. My arrival was about midway through the unraveling of my marriage and dissolution of my family and subsequent divorce. For me, it was a time of great need, and I had a little one for whom I hoped to have a spiritual community. Upon my arrival, I felt very welcome. People approached me and seemed genuinely interested in getting to know me. One individual reached out to me directly to meet up for lunch, and we had several lunch meetings after that. I got involved in the Monday night meditation group and became an integral participant in the meditation group. And that became one of the highlights of my week. And finally, I was greatly impressed with the children's RE programming. The message, variety, and openness of the lessons introduced to my son in the children's RE was exactly in line with what I wanted him to have access to. Furthermore, there were a number of other families with young children also in attendance, and Atticus developed a couple of close friends whom he looked forward to seeing every Sunday. When I observed the teens' coming-of-age presentation in which they spoke about their concept of a higher power, whatever that was, I was super excited for Atticus to go through a similar process of self-exploration and working with the development of his own spirituality over time. I've had some fear at times, especially like with the pandemic and his families have kind of dropped off. There have been times where he and I have come and he's been the only child here. And those times, I really feel sad on those times. And I miss the families. And I have fear that that's the direction things are going. With respect to our families. And that's why today it's great to see all the kids out here. I love it. So the question of why do I support Emerson, in the end, for me, it comes down to the vision that I have of a once again robust community of families and friends that are more or less in alignment with a shared set of values. I deeply long for my son to have access to the community, education, and programming that I imagine was much more prevalent in the Emerson of the past. I believe there is a need and a desire for what we have to offer in the greater Houston community. I believe there are many families and individuals who are like-minded and would be eager to participate. I support Emerson in what capacity I am able because I believe strongly in our message and in what we have to offer. And I love our theme of For Our Future. I think it dovetails very well with my longing for the future, with my longing for more family engagement. And in a very real sense, we do need to focus on our future. As our congregation continues to age, without an influx of younger blood, we will continue to decline. Furthermore, in our current political environment, I personally feel it is in my best interest to foster our values in our young people. Exposing our children to our values can have a very direct impact on all our futures. So that's why I come here, and that's what I want to foster here. And as a member of the Stewardship Committee. I'm on the committee, but I don't know what it's called. Our letters went out on Friday, and some of you may already have received them. I really encourage you, if you have not pledged before, to pledge. And if you have pledged in the past, to consider increasing your pledge. I'm not entirely sure how money translates into bringing more families, but I know there are ways. And I think it's also important for us to consider pledging in other ways as well. Time, spirit, community, and just coming here and showing up. The more that we come here and the more that we can come here with our children, the more attractive it becomes to other families who may choose to come here and visit. And that's what I have to say. So please give. Thank you. All right. Let's go sit.
Giving out of what is our own can lead us into transformative action. We take up an offering every week as a community of faith, not for ourselves and for our community. That's what the stewardship drive is for. But our Share the Plate is a collective act of giving from our community to those doing the work around us. So this week and for the rest of October, please give with a generous heart to support our October Share the Plate recipient, Juno's Hope. Juno's Hope is an organization helping dogs in need through sheltering, adoption, education, spay and neuter, and community outreach. And it occurred to me just now that I should specify, they're not teaching the dogs. Juno's wants to help build a community where people value animals and treat them with respect and kindness. And the remaining 25% of our offering, that was 75, goes to our ongoing commitment to Interfaith Ministries for Greater Houston's Meals on Wheels program, feeding Houston seniors. We have 3 ways to give. You can go to our webpage for online giving, or you can put your offering in the baskets, or mail a check to church. If you're that old school, you're so welcome to.
Please find a comfortable place to be or in your seats, and place your feet flat on the floor if you can and if you will, so that you might feel grounded, more connected to the earth which nourishes and sustains us all. Close your eyes if you feel comfortable doing so, and take a deep breath in. As together we enter into a time of meditation, followed by silence. All that we have been separately, and all that we will become together, is stretched out before and behind us, like stars scattered across a canvas of sky. We stand at the precipice, arms locked together like tandem skydivers, working up the courage to jump. Tell me, friends, what have we got to lose? Our fear of failure? Our mistrust of our own talents? What have we got to lose? A poverty of the spirit? The lie that we are alone? What wonders await us in the space between the first leap and the moment our feet, our wheels, however we move our bodies across this precious earth, touch down softly on unknown soil. What have we got to lose that we can't replace with some previously unimaginable joy. Let us enter into the silence together and ponder. Amen, and blessed be.
Every third Tuesday, I am Buddhist. I empty my mind and lighten my heart and try to let go of attachments. Every other Friday, I'm a Christian, and I look for the least of these and I try to love God and my neighbor. The full moon of the month finds me Wiccan. I honor the dual nature of God, and I find my rhythm as maiden, mother, or crone. On the 15th of the month, I am a humanist. I respect science and the integrity of fellow humans, and all that we have learned and have made. Every fourth Wednesday, I am Hindu. I take a breath, and I understand what is unfinished now will remain for me to continue next life. On alternate Fridays, I am Jewish. Yivracha Adonai v'yismerchacha, I tell my children softly, touching each head. And on Thursdays, and the Mondays, and the Saturdays, and the Sundays, and all the other days in between, find me reading, or listening, or watching philosophers, Muslims, Mormons, Baha'i, and more. They fill my heart, touch my soul, and yet the one thing that none of these provide to me is the certitude that they are the one. They lend me wisdom, sing to my heart, cause me to question, help me find answers, make me more me. And at the end of the day, every day, I'm a Unitarian Universalist. In parcel and in pledge and with all my heart, all my soul, all my mind and all my strength, I honor this faith. I hold it close as it lets me run free.
You all know that Emerson's auction was last night, right? So let's give a great big shout out to all those who planned and organized and bid and performed and set up and took down and offered up and purchased items last night. The auction was a multi-platform event with many people here in person, and I am still amazed at getting to experience these kinds of events with you. Finally, in year 3 of my ministry with you, I'm finally just getting to start to see you all in action, in person, and not just online. And that feels pretty good. A few years ago, at a different church and at a different auction, I decided to auction off a sermon topic. Well, the people who won the sermon chose for me to preach on the future of Unitarian Universalism. I met with them and planned and came up with some ideas and settled on a special theme. And after discussing the difference between Star Wars and Star Trek, a conversation I never thought I would have with a church organist, came up with some special music to open the service. So I preached on what I thought might be the future of Unitarian Universalism. I don't remember anymore what I did say, but I do remember very clearly what I did not say. I did not say that there was about to be a worldwide pandemic, unlike anything I had ever imagined coming true in my lifetime, that all our church buildings would close down, that worship would move online to Zoom, which I had only used a few times before, that we have to recreate ways of being together in community while staying physically isolated from each other, and that it would be a long, winding, and complicated path of coming back together in person and online in this new multi-platform way. I did not say that. I never imagined that the utopian, at least from Earth's point of view, that I loved from Star Trek would turn into a lived dystopian reality. So here we are, once again gathered together in worship, with me tasked with preaching on the theme of this year's Stewardship campaign titled For Our Future. I was not part of that conversation. Well, it's a good theme. And I know it's about ministry. But I have a little, trauma from the past. So, well, the one thing I learned from the last time I tried to preach on the future is that I have no ability to predict the future. None of us do. So I'm not going to try to do that again. None of us really has the ability to predict the future with any degree of certainty. I can't say what even this coming year will be for you, nor should I. Instead, what I can tell you is why I love Unitarian Universalism and why I want our faith to have a future. I love that I can adventure boldly and explore, theologically speaking, as Joanna put so beautifully in this morning's reading. I love that I can learn study and explore the world's religions and ideas, that I can deconstruct the theologies that have been handed down, even from my own faith traditions, and then recreate or reconstruct those same theologies. I love that I am free to enter into authentic relationships with other people and other ideas about the nature of reality, the nature of the world, the nature of God, or the goddess, without risking my place within my own faith tradition. One of the most impactful moments of my personal faith history came when, long before I went to seminary, I heard the newly settled in my home congregation UU minister preach on his personal theology. This was a sermon that I and many others had been eagerly anticipating. You may have heard me tell this story before, and no, it's not his actual theology that made the impact on me. What happened is I attended the 11 a.m. service and listened in awe and in wonder as he prefaced his sermon by saying that due to some conversations that he had had at the coffee hour that was held between the 9 and the 11 a.m. services, he had already changed his theology from that which he had preached at 9 a.m. But he hadn't, of course, had time to rewrite the 9 a.m. theology, so we were just going to have to listen to that one for today. Wow. Wow. What a faith this was that I had chosen to join as a young adult. Not only could the minister change his theology at any time, but he could do so as a result of learning from and growing with the members of his very own congregation. That's you all. Not just other ministers and scholars. We create and form our faith together. You and I, you and each other. How amazing is that? That was the Reverend Josh Pollock, by the way, that preached that old version of his theology at 11 a.m. I love this faith. I love the sense of community I find here within Unitarian Universalism. As you know, I move around a lot as an interim minister. Some of you move around too, or perhaps you travel a lot. And no matter where we go, there is always a way to find our community, even if it means we have to drive a bit or hop online. I love that I can always find my people, our people. When I go to regional assembly or general assembly or a workshop or a webinar or a summer camp, I can walk or roll and be at home, feel at home, know that I belong. For those of you who have never been to a general assembly, if you ever have the opportunity to go, I encourage you. Walking in to a place filled with 5,000 other Unitarian Universalists, there is not a feeling like that on this earth. It is amazing. You have that here too, right here at Emerson. This is your faith home, where you are welcome, where you belong, even if you're only here visiting for a day. You are free to adventure boldly and explore, free to question and deconstruct and reconstruct your faith. So now, I would like to invite you to turn toward a neighbor or look around and find someone who is sitting alone and share with them one thing that you love about being here at Emerson. Whether it's been for your entire lifetime or just one Sunday or any length of time in between. What is it about this church, about being Unitarian Universalist here, or exploring Unitarian Universalism here, that you love? What do you love? If you are at home online, feel free to put in the chat what it is that you love as you listen to the murmurings here. All right, Elspeth has a microphone. So if any of you would like to share just a word or two with the whole congregation, including those of us who are online and can't hear you in person, that would be lovely. Just raise your hand and Elspeth will come to you. I know Michael has already shared from behind me that it is Bella. So I love that response. Anyone want to share with everyone? What do you love?
Music.
I heard music. If you can.
You are my people.
You are my people, she says. Cracking geek jokes with Katie. If you want the actual microphone, raise your hand. If I can hear you, I'll repeat it into the microphone, but we have both available today. I know there's a lot more because I heard how energetic you were in your conversation. So we'll continue those at coffee hour, social hour.
Oh, this one? Okay. So, I just found, like, if you have an idea of, like, let's do this, then you get other people to come along with you. Like, I never planned a party, really, but I had such a great time planning the auction parties and, like, coming up with themes and, like, getting other people to contribute. And like, I had a jewelry party one time, and just, I don't know, I found a lot of support in wanting to do stuff and, like, hey, let's do this. And then other people join me, so.
That's awesome. All right. The welcoming. Even as a person of another faith. That's awesome. I'm glad you're here. So here we are, once again on the precipice of creating something new, which none of us can quite yet see or fully understand as we begin to emerge into this new post-pandemic future, in which technology is a key piece of the puzzle in both forming and sustaining our faith communities. What do you see when you think about the future of Emerson, of Unitarian Universalism? What do you imagine? What do you hope for? I invite you to share that with each other at social hour today. What is it that you hope for? What excites you about the future? I know there's a lot that's daunting, but also, what excites you? My role here as an interim minister is not to plan your future for you. You're probably relieved to hear that. If Katie were in charge, it would involve flying cars for sure. But to help you prepare to meet it, engage with it, plan for it, dream about it, hope for it, by supporting you, becoming an even stronger and even healthier congregation than you already are. So, let's take a few moments just to name some of those things. What do you hope for? What do you imagine could be a part of your future? What are your dreams for this UU community? You can shout them out, ask for the microphone, hang on to them, share them at social hour, whatever you like. What do you hope for? What do you dream about? There's so much, isn't there? A whole world of possibility. It won't be recreating the past. The past is past. It'll be something brand new. Some of our traditions are living tradition. That's what our hymnal is called. We'll continue on. Our ability to explore freely, to create our own theologies, to be liberal in our religious values, those will always be with us, even as much else changes. So what do you dream about? What do you imagine? Either for yourself or for the generations coming behind you, because we all have generations coming up from behind us. Audrey is my constant reminder of that. There are some beautiful and amazing hopes and dreams that you are holding on to. Do gather them close and do hold on to them. You will need to remember them as you move forward into your future. Now, for those of you who may be worried, I'm about to lead you down a naive path of Star Trekian utopia. Never fear. I know, and I think you all know, that there will be disappointments along the way. There's a UU minister whose name I do not know, who once told his people, I do know his gender, that people who were joining the church that day, he said to them, "You're becoming a member today, but you won't be a real member until your church disappoints you and you still come back." That's what makes real members. We stick with it. Or we take a little respite and we come back and stick with it some more. This is, after all, a human community. At one time or another, we have all been or will be disappointed when things don't go the way we hoped. Don't like the hymn that was chosen, the color of the carpet, or the paint on the wall. Sometimes bigger hurts happen. And then we work on our forgiveness, right, which we worked on last week. But the important thing is to remember that even though it sometimes takes courage, a lot of courage, to be here, and that's our theme for October from Soul Matters, courage. So you'll be hearing more of that. Even though sometimes it takes courage to be here or to remain here or to return here, you do belong here. Whether this is your home for a morning or a lifetime or sometime in between, you belong here. The future is yours to dream about and create or recreate. I know there are so many questions before you, so many hopes and dreams, and no way to predict the future. Who knows? Maybe someday we'll be worshiping on a holodeck instead of on Zoom and YouTube and Facebook. But what I know deep in my heart is true is that we as UUs are free, will always be free to adventure boldly and explore. Make it so. Now let us rise either in body or spirit and join in singing our closing hymn, which is Touch the Earth, Reach the Sky, number 301 in the gray hymnal. Because of those who came before, we are. In spite of their failings, we believe. Because of and in spite of the horizons of their vision, we too dream. Let us go, remembering to praise, to live in the moment, to love mightily, and to bow to the mystery. Amen, and blessed be.
Y'all can be seated. I've got a few announcements on our way out. So this week, as every week, we have social time here and on the Zoom, and again, y'all online. That's going to be in the description on the YouTube live stream. If you're watching this another day, there's probably not a social time. You have the option of joining our lunch bunch today, and that's going to be at, someone remind me, is it Flo's Paris this week? Yes, it's Flo's Paris down on Westheimer and Bering. They'll leave the gathering place around 15 minutes from now, and that's one option for what you can do if you don't want to stay in the gathering place. We're also going to have our snacks and coffee as usual there. Another announcement is that we invite y'all to encourage youngsters you know to sign up for our children's choir. Sign-up forms can be found in the gathering place, and the general arc of that project this fall is going to be preparation for the holiday musical, yeah? And Julie is the person to contact you if any more questions. On October 22nd, we have a Beyond Categorical Thinking workshop with Reverend Keith Cron, the Director of Transitions at the UUA, and this is going to be a key piece of our ministerial search process. So if you have any questions about that, you can ask Zena Taylor back here in the Pew Z. In the meantime, we encourage y'all to sign up for one of our small group meetings with the search committee. And I'm not sure what folks need to do to make sure that they're at those meetings, but we want to make sure that you're there. Okay, and now for our post lead.
A huge shout out to Sean. What you all do not know is that I came up with this idea of just having her play like 8 bars of music during the sermon yesterday afternoon while I was writing the sermon. And here she is playing the whole thing for the postlude the next morning. Yes, we love you, Sean. See you all at social hour.